I think we've forgotten about one of the greatest wrestlers of all time because of one man, David Taylor. If you look back at Iran's Hassan Yazdani's career and what he's been able to accomplish, even with David Taylor as the main obstacle in his wrestling career, it's a legendary, one of the best careers of a generation, right? Let's start, and I'll give a quick bio, but before that, without David Taylor, Hassan Yazdani would very likely be, and almost undoubtedly be, an 8-time world and Olympic champion. 2-time Olympic, 6 world. That's what we'd be looking at. That's what we'd be talking about. And at that point, we'd be talking about the greatest wrestler of all time. He's in that conversation. But David Taylor was there, and that changed the entire conversation. So starting in 2014, that's when we first became aware of Hassan Yazdani, because we were all fired up for that 2014 Junior World Team, and it was a squad. It had Kyle Snyder. It had Joey McKenna. It had Aaron Pico. He was our guy at 66. He was the cadet world champion. We said, this dude's going to go and win Junior Worlds, and he makes the finals. Everything's going great. He's got Iran's Hassan Yazdani. We don't know much, and then we know a lot because he beat Aaron. He beat him kind of decisively, right? And Aaron was world class at that point. He was senior level world class. So we knew this Yazdani guy's got to be pretty freaking good to beat Aaron Pico. And that's what he did as a junior, which means he's 18 years old, right? And then the next year, that was 2014. 2015, Yazdani goes up from 66 to 70 kilograms, and he wrestles at the World Championships, senior level. And he's wrestling another American in the World Semifinals, James Green. Now, we now know James Green's won a handful of world medals, been on so many teams for Team USA. Truly, this is a step up from Aaron Pico in terms of experience and size, whatever. And he beats James. And he beats him. It was a great match, but he kind of pulls away at the end. And then he makes the finals and falls in the finals to Russia. So he goes from Junior World Champ to World Silver at 19. And then 1 year later, he's the Olympic rep for Iran at 2016. What does he do? And we got Jordan Burroughs in this weight class, Anwar Gadoyev. It's a legendary weight. He goes and he wins the Olympics at 20 years old. I want to say 20. And he outscored the field like 33-6. Okay, and then the legend of Yazdani is growing like crazy. And then he goes up another weight class. He goes up to 86 kilograms. He goes from 74, 163 pounds, to 86 kilograms. And he steamrolls the entire weight. He dominates everyone in 2017, right? So he goes up 12 kilos and frictionless. Actually, it was easier up at 86. And then David Taylor enters the conversation in 2018. In 2018, they meet in the first round. Can you believe that? And David Taylor beats him. He had already beaten him in the 2017 World Cup, but then he didn't make the World Team. And then in 2018, they square off again. And once again, it's David Taylor losing early, and then he runs him down late. Okay, so Yazdani wrestles back. He gets bronze. He dominates everyone but David, but he loses to David, and David gets the gold, his first world title. 2019, David tears his ACL at Beat the Streets. He's out. Yazdani's in. This one we see Yazdani's most dominant performance of his entire senior level career at a World and Olympic Championship. He goes tech, pin, tech, and then in the World Finals, he received a forfeit. Deepak Punia of India said, I'm good. Silver's just fine. I'm going to go ahead and just relax and not do this match because I know what's going to happen. I'm reading between the lines there. He never said that, but kind of said it without saying it. You made the World Finals and forfeit. You got this guy that you know is going to steamroll you. To me, it's a compliment to Yazdani that Punia did not take the mat because a world title is on the line. So that was one of his more dominant runs, and then he makes it. He dominates to the Olympic finals, falls to David. And then in 2021, he gets over the hump at the World Championships in Oslo, edges out David narrowly. 22 loses to David, 23 loses to David. That's the theme in Yazdani's career. David Taylor is gone, okay? And now if you're wondering, well, he was wrestling other matches in the World Championships and wrestling other guys. This dude has not lost to someone not named David Taylor since 2016 at 74 kilograms before the Olympic Games. He lost to Keitag Sabalov, who's a world champion, and he would avenge that loss just a couple months later at the World Cup and never look back. And and drastically surpass Sabalov as a wrestler. But that's the last guy to beat him that wasn't David Taylor. We're going back over 8 years now. And now David Taylor's not in the picture. Sabalov's not in the picture. So, yeah, Yazdani's quite a favorite here. And so the question is, are we getting a little ahead of ourselves, just a little, with Aaron Brooks, the great Aaron Brooks? Because on the one hand, this guy just beat David Taylor, and that should give us all the confidence in the world, and it does. It gives me great confidence that Aaron's going to go and have a great result at the Olympic Games. But on the other side of the coin, we have to ask ourselves, what version of David Taylor was defeated that night in State College? Was it the guy that beat Hassan Yazdani 5 out of 6 times or something like that? Or was it a David Taylor was just on his last legs and wasn't quite the same guy and didn't quite have that same ability? We're not really sure because there was just the 2 matches, but we can draw some inferences from what had happened at the Olympic trials, because we saw, if the question we're trying to answer is, was that the best David Taylor? Let's look at the rest of Aaron Brooks's tournament that weekend. That's a good proxy for how he's performing. David Taylor, we know in 2 matches, got 0 takedowns on Aaron Brooks, okay? So while I give tremendous credit to Aaron Brooks defensively, because David Taylor scores on everyone, right? But what makes me think maybe this isn't best version David Taylor is if you look at the Olympic trials field leading up to it, Aaron Brooks got taken down by Connor Mirasola, a high school senior. He got taken down by Alex Daringer. He got floored by Zahid Valencia. So he was giving up takedowns. He was giving up points. And he did against David Taylor. And it feels like if it was the best version of David Taylor, he gets one. He gets a score, right? So I'm not as sure, because I think if you go into 2021 and that Aaron Brooks beats David Taylor, you can say, all right, that's a good proxy for a comparison against Yazdani. But now I'm just a little less sure, and I feel like it should at least be mentioned. I'm not saying we shouldn't be confident that Aaron can do it. I think, without a doubt, Aaron is the only guy who can do it. But I also think there's a level of respect that's been lost for Yazdani because of how great David Taylor's been. And we need to also reconcile the fact that David Taylor's greatness may not be easily equal just because he's defeated in his final matches. Doesn't mean that that level of success is guaranteed to that person that beat him. But what Aaron Brooks does possess that I think gives him some advantages. One, physically so strong, so big for the weight. I don't know if we're going to see him get overwhelmed like we've seen literally everyone else get overwhelmed by Yazdani's hand fighting and pace and movement. It's really insane to see how he can just tear through elite wrestlers who have never been questioned for their ability physically, who have never been questioned for their ability to wrestle from a gas tank perspective, just wilt at the pressure of Hassan Yazdani. So that's a factor. But he's got strength, and he's got the ability to wrestle for 6 minutes. But I think the number one advantage he's going to have is exchanges. And this is where David Taylor had a huge advantage. And the longer exchanges go, the more it favored David Taylor, and the more it's going to favor Aaron Brooks. Because in scrambles, in counter, in sequences, right, where he's on the leg or Yazdani is on his leg, the longer it goes, the more likely I think it is that Aaron Brooks wins those exchanges. So it's going to be about preventing the quick scores of Yazdani and getting in some exchanges. But there's also the underhook dynamic that Yazdani has the ability to get to his underhook very consistently and very dominantly. But that's also Aaron Brooks' position. He's got a great underhook himself. So does that knowledge, that ability, his ability to get to underhooks, does that give you a little bit of confidence? Another thing that gives me some confidence is we saw Trent Hidley is one of the more renowned underhook wrestlers in America right now. And that was the nemesis for Aaron Brooks to win his final NCAA title. And you knew that Trent was going to try to get to his underhook, and Aaron shut it down completely. Not that he shut down the underhook never really got in. There was like maybe 1 second where the underhook was in of Trent, and he was able to clear it. So I have a lot of confidence that Aaron's going to be able to not wrestle for an extended period of time with that underhook. But then again, there's no one that can replicate this. No one has an underhook as good as Hassan Yazdani. So he's not going to have felt it until he's feeling it right there. And if you told me Aaron Brooks gets 3, 4, 5 cracks at Yazdani, I'd feel more and more confident. But it's going to be the one time he's going to have one chance, and he's going to have 6 minutes to figure it out against an absolute all-time great. And I'm hoping he can do it.